If I were to ask you what family is the richest family to ever exist, you might take an educated guess and answer with a family such as the Rockefellers, or perhaps the royal family of England. Or maybe you've developed a sort of pop culture tunnel vision and you guess the Kardashians. Well, besides the third, these guesses wouldn't be the worst of guesses, but they would in fact be wrong. And although a quick Google search would tell you the Waltons, the founders of Walmart, are the richest family today, they are not the topic of this video, as you might have surmised from the thumbnail. You see, the family that I'll be discussing today, and the family that I believe to be the answer of that question, is so peculiar and veiled in so much secrecy that the truth is, no one truly knows how rich they really are. This family is the Rothschilds. You might have heard of them. In fact, you might have even gotten an uneasy feeling when you heard the name mentioned. The Rothschilds are a family of such significance that they have been tied to a number of conspiracy theories that have massive implications. Before I get into the wealth of this family, I'll try my best to explain the deep and dark conspiracies that surround the Rothschilds. Any conspiracy theory out there that presumes the governments of the world are controlled by a small group of individuals pretty much all point to the Rothschilds. These conspiracies warn that this one powerful family is behind the curtain, puppeteering massive changes in the culture of humanity. These changes include war, financial crisis, racial oppression, and much more. Some are even bold enough to claim that the powers that be control the weather itself. The most common conspiracy theory along this vein is the belief in the Illuminati. And if you've ever been down the rabbit hole on the internet, learning about the Illuminati, it did not take you long to find out about the Rothschilds. Now, you're free to believe whatever you want to believe. But just know, as you watch this video, there is a significant amount of people that believe that the Rothschilds control the course of modern humanity. But that's enough for the conspiracy side of things. I become unsettled when things get spooky. So, let's talk about all of the money they have. The most significant hint at the tremendous wealth and one of the biggest red flags for the conspiracy theorists is the family's connection with the world banks. The idea is that the family can be tied to almost all of the world banks, and they're attempting to control every last one of them. Nathan Rothschild, one of the more historically documented members of the family, is claimed to have said, "I care not what puppet is placed upon the throne of England to rule the empire on which the sun never sets. The man who controls Britain's money supply controls the British Empire, and I control the British money supply." Let me know in the comments what you think of that statement, and if it scares you as much as it does me. The historical origins of the Rothschilds date back to the 1760s, when Mayer Amschel Rothschild created his banking business. And banking has been the cornerstone of the family ever since. Mayer Amschel gained quite a fortune and managed to bequeath his wealth to his 5 sons. The sons then systematically established themselves in London, Paris, Frankfurt, Vienna, and Naples. By the 19th century, these heirs had garnered the largest private fortune in the world and in all of modern history. During this time, many of the Rothschilds became royalty and soon began to diversify their assets rapidly. Today, just a handful of the diverse range of interests that the Rothschilds cover are financial services, real estate, mining, energy, mixed farming, winemaking, and non-profits. But before they established themselves as an elusive family of massive wealth that seems to have a finger in every bowl of soup worth more than a couple of pennies, they accomplished many other things. Like I mentioned earlier, there is so much mystery concerning this family that it's hard to decipher what is history and what is no more than conspiracy. I'll do my best to convey what items in the video are far-fetched and which tales seem to be backed by historians. It's generally believed by historians that the family played a massive role in the Napoleon-famed defeat at Waterloo in the early 1800s. During the time of the Napoleon Wars, the Rothschilds were already incredibly wealthy. It's believed that Nathan Mayer Rothschild entered the war in 1813 and helped finance the British side to end it. The amount he provided would be the equivalent of $900 million today. This funding came in the form of precious metal shipments to the armies spread across Europe. Rothschild may have even known about Napoleon's defeat before the officials knew, with his reliable system of couriers. Prior to his involvement in this particular war, Nathan bought up government bonds. Years later, he sold them for a 40% profit. The exact profit he made is not clear, but if he considered it worth providing $900 million to aid the British side, it's safe to say it's a lot of money. One of the many ways the massive wealth of the Rothschilds has been diversified is through exotic animals. Lord Walters was one of the Rothschilds. He always loved animals. So naturally, he took his inheritance and turned it into the biggest zoology collection by a private individual of all time. Lord Walter was famous for driving a caravan led by 4 zebras. This was not only one of the biggest flexes in history, but it was a way to prove that under the right care, wild animals could be docile. Another venture the family is a part of is mining. The family is believed to back the Australian mining company, Rio Tinto. This company, worth billions, is one of the leading world manufacturers in iron ore, copper, uranium, coal, and diamonds. Along with helping with the defeat of Napoleon, the Rothschilds have also been tied to the independence of Brazil. Portugal, at the time, wanted 2 million sterling before they could agree to grant Brazil their independence. Brazil, under the oppression of Portugal, had no means to pay this money. So, the Rothschilds stepped in and paid the entire sum to the Portuguese government. Brazil then had to pay their debt to the family over time, with interest. One of the most dramatic ways in which the Rothschilds have displayed their influence on the world is by setting the price of gold itself. From 1919 to 2004, the Rothschilds, along with other leading traders in the gold industry, met every so often to decide the price of the precious metal. The earliest meetings were hosted and controlled by the Rothschilds themselves, as they decided the cost of the metal that serves as the backbone to most economies, the metal that they own so much of. For the past 150 years, the Rothschilds have been in the winemaking business as well. The Rothschild family owns a multitude of wine estates in France, which include the Château Clermillon, the Château de la Mouette, the Château Rothschild des Armenvilliers, and more. Pardon me, I need to brush up on my French. Their wines at the original 2 estates are under the classification of wines from France's Bordeaux region. But, personally, I prefer a nice smooth whiskey on the rocks. Along with the royal families of Europe, the Rothschilds have also been connected to the Vatican. In 1861, it is believed the Rothschilds paid countless loans to kings across the land of what was not yet Italy. The Italian aristocracy declined this unification conducted by the Rothschilds and forced them to turn to the Bank of the Vatican after their own bank in Naples was being forced to close. Not only did the bank not close, but Italy became unified and is now the country it is today. This idea, believed by many, that the Vatican and the Rothschilds orchestrated the unification of Italy, has massive political implications and only adds to the legacy of mystery of the family. Either way, you can add the Pope of that time to the list of associates of the Rothschild family. Just a few years later, America was in a recession and the family would swoop in once again. Before the Great Depression, the United States was running low on gold and experienced one of the first recessions in its young history. President Grover Cleveland, in an attempt to save the nation, reached out to J.P. Morgan and the Rothschilds to bail out the United States government. In the form of a loan, the 2 parties obliged. The US is just one colonial branch in the Rothschilds' tree of influence. The thing with the Rothschilds is that you're never going to see them in a Forbes magazine. They've done such a fantastic job of not only concealing their wealth by diversifying it in a multitude of outlets and through generations of heirs and successors, but it's because of this fact that many people believe the Rothschilds to be the wealthiest family to ever exist. Some estimates conclude that the total wealth of this family surpasses $1 trillion. Rarely are known members of the family ever seen in public. And when they do surface ever so often, they're hidden behind a wall of bodyguards and a caravan of black luxury sedans and SUVs that rivals that of the Secret Service. The Rothschilds seem to be a possible answer to the question of who's really in charge. Who has power over even the president? Who is behind the world banks? Who's that guy on a carriage led by a bunch of zebras? These are the questions you can't help but ask. and you can't help but wonder, maybe the Rothschilds are really just all of that. But regardless of whatever conspiracies you choose to associate with, I'm glad you stopped by to check out the video. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. As always, I'm Mr. Luxury. Pip pip to doodly-doo.